Just got a notification. Yep, it's live now. Hear me? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the MJB Music with JB podcast, where I'm your host, Mario J. Brown, singer, songwriter, and CEO of MJB Music. And my man here, we've been having some technical difficulties. You may be able to see him, but not hear him. But he is James Buford, better known as Pastor, graphic designer, aka all the above. We call him Mr. AK, and he's also the CMO of MJB Music. So yes, we started this podcast to everything music education and culture. People that are in the music industry that serve in many different areas. And what we've done is we've reached out to them and we're bringing them to you. So they're coming and they're bringing their knowledge, they're bringing their experience, and they're giving you free game tools to further your career in whatever aspect of music of you that you're in. So basically, you will learn valuable information from various entertainment industry professionals, such as we've had producers, songwriters, makeup artists, entertainment lawyers. Tonight we have a photographer, musicians, and more. So feel free to chime in and ask questions. Make sure you get your questions in the chat, and we'll be sure to address those questions. So thank you for joining us today. We truly value your time and attention. Today's topic of discussion will be behind the lens. Again, our topic tonight is behind the lens. So I'm going to read this gentleman's bio really quick so you all can know what you're in for. Gregory Davis, affectionately called Greg, is an entrepreneur in the true sense of the word. After almost 28 years, his enthusiastic approach, hang on one second. Sorry about that. My computer is acting crazy. All right. Come on here. All right. His enthusiastic approach to photography is the driving force of his business. His slogan, always behind the camera, but never out of the picture, is a true reflection of his ability to his subjects to capture his subjects from both angles. Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, his desire was to become a musician, mastering a saxophone until what was started out as a hobby of photography grew into what has now become his profession. Greg has captured photos for and of celebrities Bernie Mac, President Barack Obama, Jennifer Hudson, and more. Normally, right now, we would have a music culture moment of the day. I'm not sure if our co-host is on or not. Did you get your mic working, James, or no? Not tonight. Okay. Maybe they probably can't hear you, so we'll just skip that segment tonight. So we'll jump right into it with our guests. We won't be before you long. We just really have some valuable information that we want to bring to you. And again, tonight our topic is behind the lens. And so I know it's important because as an artist, there are times when we have to be in front of the lens, and a good photographer will be able to get the best out of you. Sometimes I've grown, but there were times where I've been really shy and didn't know how to really express myself in photos. And, a good photographer makes you comfortable. They know how to get out of you, make you your best self. So tonight we're going to get some tools. And without further ado, guys, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Greg Davis. Come on, y'all. Welcome my family, Mr. Greg Davis. Yes, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome. How are you today?
Hey, here we are in the shy. Let's do it.
So excited to have you on, man. It's been a while since I've seen you, and you're looking good, man. You're looking good. You're getting younger, or what, man?
It's that secret sauce. It's sort of staying behind the camera and not in front of it. This is what helps out a lot.
That's what keeps you young, huh?
Less pressure. So you got me in the pressure cooker. So I'm usually calming other people down before they go on camera. But here we are. So let's see if I can use my own secret sauce on myself.
Well, come on and give us that sauce tonight, man. That's what we're here for. Thank you to our viewers. Shout out to Derek Scruggs, Nicole Thomas, Zan Young, Carrick Stevens, Yvette Knox. I know you know that name. James Buford, Kenya, my wife, James Stewart. Man, we got a lot of people on tonight to come to get some of this wisdom. So let's jump right into it, man. Take us on the journey down your career path to become a professional photographer. Like, how and where did your passion come from, and how did you become successful?
So it's kind of weird. In high school, I played around with the camera, and I took one class. It was I went to Marshall High School. I got to do some shout outs. Went to Marshall High School. The teacher's name was Miss Commodin. I took one class, and that was that. And fast forward, I got in the band, and I played music for a long time. And at some point, that phase of my life sort of phased out, and I had to get a real job because I wasn't making enough money doing it musically. And trying to make it short, my sister borrowed a $35 camera that I had. And she took it on vacation and broke that camera. So I then wanted to purchase a real camera. I wore my wife down to spend $500 on a camera. And a friend of ours owned a theater company. And as soon as I got my camera, he allowed me, his name was Douglas Allen Mann. He was my first mentor. He allowed me to come to their theater and shoot pictures for their theater. Before I knew what an f-stop was, shutter speed, and all these other things that was going on, he allowed me to cut my teeth in that theater company. And I think at that time he paid me like $35.
Wow.
So I went out and I bought some business cards. So I was in business. And at that theater company, the one thing that changed my life was Harris Bank job ended, and I decided not to look for a job, and I figured I can make it doing this. Again, the guy that was my mentor, Douglas Allen Mann, who's passed away now, he was doing voiceovers for a living. And so I was like, well, if he could talk for a living, I'm sure I should be able to do pictures for a living. So,
right.
And that pretty much how it started, man. And I used the music discipline as a transferable skill to run the business. When I was in high school, my band teacher was Mr. Delano O'Banion, and he was really tough on us as kids. He would be probably put in jail today, as how we were treated back in the day. But it made us better, right?
Gotcha.
So I tell him, we still are friends now. I tell him I hated him, but I lived by his principles. So he basically set me up for life, really just knowing how to deal with people, being in front of, we used to play, I was in the jazz band. So just being on stage half of my life in high school made this part easy. So that's pretty much how I started, man. And then just started building clients, met some great photographers along the way that supported my efforts. I'll drop some names. First person was Billy Cobb. He had a studio in Oak Park. And I walked in the studio and first I told him I was going to be a client. And then I said, hey man, I'm really just needing some help as a photographer. And he took me under his wings, and so on and so on and so on, man. And so here we are today, 28 years later. It seems like it just started yesterday.
Wow.
I still love what I do. I do it for free, but I don't have to. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, here we are now, man. 28 years later, I have people I mentor. I still have a mentor. There's another photographer here. His name is Victor Powell. And he taught me a lot of things that helped me to cultivate clients, to be more than just a photographer for the client, And so, again, man, just building that legacy that other people helped me along the way. So here
Yeah.
we are. I know I'm gonna
Wow.
miss names, so I don't want to just run through a bunch of them because there's a lot of people that has helped. You know, you no one man gets you there. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
bunch of people, man, bunch of.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yep.
You know, it's something I didn't even know that about you, that you played an instrument fluently like that. So that's interesting, man. Like a man of more than one talent.
I
That's
harass musicians for a living now.
and that's really interesting, that how you said that it kind of prepped you for what you're doing now, that discipline,
Yes.
because you
Yes.
have to have discipline when you're learning and developing your craft. So that's awesome,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
We also talked about dealing with people. um, Dealing with people is not always the easiest thing to do, because people are not all the same. So of course, we have different personalities, we have different moods, we
Yep.
have different scenarios, life scenarios, and so how do you how do you deal with either challenging people or just people in general? What makes you uh, you know good at what you do as it relates to dealing with so many different people?
So I always tell my family, I have four other siblings, and they're the four personalities that they have helped me. So when I run into people, I go like, "Oh, that's Val." You know, my sister was a model, and so it was like just things in their lives how to deal. I was the youngest of five,
Mm,
so being the younger brother, I always had to fit in, and I was always, you know, I'll talk to a fire plug, and so using their personalities and being able to negotiate with them has helped me for this. For instance, I remember one time I told on my brother, and he hit me in the stomach so hard I almost passed out. I couldn't breathe like for like 30 seconds or so, right? And he taught me how not, you know, don't be a trick, work it out, negotiate. So my whole life has just been about negotiating in front of people when they can be difficult. Sometimes you if you listen a little more to them, you'll find out what makes them tick, and you'll
yeah.
find out because we all have these idiosyncrasies, right? And so we're half baked people, everybody is. And so when you find out what works for them, then you morph into that area and work with them. There are some artists that I've worked with. I'm not gonna mention any names with that, but they can be really difficult. But they do what they do very well, and I respect what they do, and that just
Absolutely.
keeps all that other stuff out of the way, man. Because again, they're running around, people are asking them for the autograph, you know, and everybody just can't deal with the fame part because sometimes I find musicians that just want to be musicians. They don't want to be famous.
Yeah.
So with all that stuff that comes with it, it can be very aggravating. So when I'm on the scene, I'm not that guy asking, you know, hey man, since I'm here with you, let me talk to you about your life. You know, I
Hmm.
just sit and do what I came to do. And so it's afforded me that effort. I mean, that opportunity. He's a very interesting person. Uh, um, we did the Chicago Theater. With I'm gonna drop some names because I'll get killed if I don't. A friend of mine, her name is Juan Teagues, and she started her own business as well, and she was doing promotional stuff and events. And we both sort of grew up together in this I guess we'd say the game. And she had him as a client, you know. So because of her, I got opportunities to do like Dusty Baker. I met the Chicago Bears and things like that. So you may get one hit and then find 25 artists in that situation.
Mm,
So it's not like you deal with them directly. You sometimes deal with them indirectly. If you're doing a CD cover, of course, you'll get that phone call. But working with other people through other entities, right? Again, I say nobody ever gets there by themselves, right?
right.
So it
Right.
just worked out that way, man. And it keeps morphing and morphing and morphing, and just opportunities come my way. I'm just always excited just to be in the conversation, whether I
Yeah.
get the job or not. Just you know,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to be relevant.
Yes,
So
sir. Wow.
yeah,
Wow. I know we talked a little bit earlier about different types of personalities, and like, so if you get somebody that's not real comfortable in front of the camera, like, how do you get the best out of that client? How do you get the best out of any client? Like, how do you make them comfortable, shooting with you or taking photos or
So
being, I guess.
sometimes this works. I am I'm an antagonist, right?
Okay.
So sometimes through antagonizing people, I get the best out of them. Now, some people can take that, and some people can't. But that's how we grew up, man. And things that were which would seem harsh again 20 years ago was what made us stronger. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we we reveled in the fact that that the challenge was before us and that we weren't just going to just lose. It was not failure was not an option. Me and my best friend Steve Hill, who has his own business in St. Louis. I got to drop names, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always, when we talk maybe 2, 3 times a week, it's always our motto is find a way. Whatever it is, it's find a way to get it done. So again, my challenge when somebody's in front of me, it's you're only as good as your last job, right? Like
Absolutely.
Janet Jackson say, "What have you done for me lately?" Right? So if I'm gonna work again, I've got to knock it out the park and figure out a way. It's like a chess game. I got to figure it out. So finding a way to make that person uh, look the way they need to look, or give me the reaction that they need to react. And sometimes, again, my way is always just being a jokester, man. That's just who
Yeah.
I am. I lived the dozens in high school. I tell people I just went by high school, but don't mess with me on the dozens. So it didn't always
Got
work out for me. You know, some people always say, "Yeah, you might get beat up." I say, "You think that would be the first time?" But I got the shot.
Right.
The end result is the goal, man. So
Yeah.
I take it or
That,
leave it. That's just who I am. I make no excuses, none.
yeah, that's good that you have, that personality, because it loosens people up, especially, a lot of people deal with insecurities that we don't see, and so when they are in front of a camera, it really intensifies, and the anxiety is real. So when you have a photographer that knows how to change the mood of the surrounding, that's huge. So I'm sure that's a lot that you attribute to your success as well. Let's talk gear for a minute. What type of gear do you use, and like, what's your favorite lens? Now, I don't know anything about this, but I know we have some photographers that are tuning in tonight. So let's school them. Let's teach them. Tell them some of the things that you use and what's your favorite lenses.
So I'm a Canon shooter now. Nikon. And when I met my mentor, Victor Powell, um, he had me shoot a conference with him. And he showed me his images and he looked at my images. And then I sold all of my equipment. I promise you, I took a big loss. But I mean, I was learning from one of the best guys that you could ever meet, man. And so I shut it all down, moved to Canon, and I haven't looked back since. We use all the L lenses, which are they're called fast lenses.
Okay.
And so there's 70 to 200. There's a 35 to a 16 to 35 millimeter, a 24 to 70. And so those, and then there's wide angle lenses as well. So it's how you use them. It has to be applicable, like almost like a music lick, right? Okay. So again, that's what, like when they say in music, less is more. Knowing the tool, when to use it, and what to do with it. You can buy all this stuff and not know what to do with it, right? So part of learning and knowing what to do and what lens you need. And now with that, you have to anticipate when you need it, because if you see it before you put your camera up to your face,
yeah,
you've already missed it. It's not going to happen. So we call it laying on shots. You have to anticipate what's going to happen. There are certain things I'm really good at, and there are certain things that I suck at. I went one time and shot a volleyball game, and okay, you would have thought I didn't know what I was doing, because it's really fast motion. So photographers that do sports, man, it's a whole different world.
Wow.
I'm not a fashion photographer at all.
Wow. Okay.
It's a different, because I was taught like acceptable views of the face and things like that. I'd suck at shooting a Gap ad, because it doesn't have any rules that I've learned. So there's a whole nother set of rules in doing, ad work and things like that. So there's things I know I do well. I do school photography. And so over time, what that does for me is I'm able to engage somebody very fast and get you out of my chair and get what we need quickly, right? So you can take that same skill and deal with a corporate exec that only has 20 minutes to get his headshot done and get them in the door, knock it out the park. You know, in this world, we can show them a proof like instantaneous. So I've at one point, and I've done a headshot with one shot. Like the guy looked up, I said something stupid, he smiled, bam, I showed him the picture. He says, it's not gonna get any better than this. And wow. He was out the door. And so again, it's just over time, man, it's just, and again, it's my goofiness that matches with the other things that help me do what I do. I struggled with calling people clients when I first did this because it was not, you know, it was one of those, I had to make it an art for me. It wasn't always just, you know, an art. So yeah. Music is my, you know, that was like, you know, I'm listening for cowbells. I'm listening why I listen when mistakes are made. So in that same thing, man, I had to learn how to do that in the photography world, you know.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Now, I know one thing you might be able to help me with. Now, I wear glasses, right?
Yes.
So every time I have a photo shoot, I run into issues with glaring and it's like, okay, and they may say, take your glass. I'm like, but I don't want to take, I want to see while I'm shooting. I want to look like I normally look. So do you have any tips for that?
Well, see, so it's the design of your glasses as well. So you can, with certain glasses, you can have people tilt their head down. But if we're trying to do something live and we're moving around a lot, it makes it more difficult. And now you got to think about more than just having a good picture. Now you're thinking about keeping your head down, taking the picture as well. Your glasses are rounded, which makes it even worse to glare. They're more susceptible to glare because they're rounded. And then when they tell you to put that non-glare stuff on your glasses, right? I have it on mine because, you know, I want the thinnest glass I can get because I do need them, right? But it also adds a green tint to your glasses. So all of those things sort of put us in a situation, like as you look into yourself now, you can see the screen back in your glasses. It's how your glasses are shaped. So you could help yourself in your new look next time.
Getting a flatter.
Getting a different a different pattern of your lens.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, that's valuable.
So when I see it, like, you know what I'm saying? When you do music, you already know when you come into the room or where the bass player sits, if he doesn't sit next to the drummer, you already know it's like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing when I see your glasses. I already know I'm going to struggle with trying to keep you engaged and get the right picture with the glasses. And sometimes you'll get a good look and we can overlook the glare and then we can fix it in post sometimes. But yeah, sometimes it's virtually impossible depending on the type of lens you have on your glasses. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you, do you have a favorite piece of work that you've done? Like something that you're most proud of? Like, yeah, that's my baby right there.
It's always the next one. Because it's how we eat, right? So I don't want to get, I will. Well, the way God works, right? So if I celebrate this one moment as if it's the last thing or the greatest thing I'll ever do, that doesn't give me room for him to do something else. So I try to right? Because if I do something today, I eat today, but I need to eat next week and the week after. So it all becomes a blur, and we appreciate the journey along the way. But all of them are your kids. It's like, how do you like a kid better than the other one, right? Some of them give you more problems than others, but at some point, it's all just work, you know? And so no, if I had to, one thing that we did one time was what I liked about it was how quick it happened. So from that standpoint, I did a shot at Harris Bank, and I think it was some executives in front of the bank, and they used that in Times Square on like the big screen down at Times Square. That was kind of cool to see. So I put it on my face. I think on Facebook, I don't know if people understood it, but I had their picture there, and then in the background in New York was this gigantic a jumbotron with that same picture on it. So that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they probably thought it was Photoshop, not even knowing that. No, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
that's pretty
I
exciting.
got a Forrest Gump kind of life. You'd be like, really? Uh, I
Uh,
uh, I was photographing Kanye West before he was Kanye.
okay.
Kanye West he did like a half an hour sound check, and he had John Legend. Nobody knew who neither one of them was. It was like a neo tour, and
Mm.
so you take some pictures, blah blah blah. It ends up you throw them in the pile. A year later, Kanye West is like the largest thing on the planet. I go back and get those pictures and put them on my Facebook page. So then I started saying, if you're photographed by me, I'm a star maker, right? It's
Yeah.
like I got him when he was early.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Put the sauce on them like you spoke
Yeah,
of earlier.
until I put my lens on him, that's just the story, the big fish story.
Now tell us
Yeah,
what your motto is. I think I read it in your bio, but if you can just speak to your motto and what exactly does that mean?
always behind the camera, but never out of the picture.
Yes,
Meaning,
sir.
again, staying relevant. Um, I, stumping with the big dogs, but being quiet and doing it because we can all brag about the things we do,
Yeah.
but and sometimes I think to my discredit, I really don't promote myself that way. I'm sort of like I don't go like, look what I did last, and look who I was hanging out with, and because again, I think that affords me to be able to move quietly and do the things I do. So if
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a and I don't, I'm not saying anything about anyone else that takes pictures with artists and things like that. I honestly think I've only taken maybe one or two pictures with an artist or a celebrity, and one of them was one of the Arkansas Eight,
Okay.
and the people that got spit on going into
Exonerated.
school, right?
Yeah.
And so I just thought that that was just so cool to be in her presence that I took that picture. It didn't look well enough for me to post it, so I didn't post it. But because I was trying to take it and with her in it as well. But
Yeah.
so for me, it's like everything is important that I do, and I treat
Gotcha.
everybody important. It's
Yeah.
just how I keep it. And so that's where that came from. That was always behind the camera, but never out of the picture, because you
Gotcha.
need me in your life.
hmm hmm I like that. I love that saying, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something that just took me back a little bit because I used to be one that I wouldn't take pictures with artists either. Like several years ago, I was able to work with Left Eye with another group, and we were with her pretty much every day. We worked with Brian Michael Cox, Tank,
Yep.
Jagged Edge, just so many different people. And during this time, I felt like I'm one of you guys, and so I'm not gonna ask for pictures, and my pride kind of got in the way. But now I'm like, if you didn't take a picture, it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially now Left Eye is gone, so I missed that
Oh wow.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, man. But I do understand where you're coming from, though, as far as not
But
not
see,
not
you're in the
wanting.
industry, so you're building your portfolio,
Hmm.
in that way of
Yeah,
being behind the scenes, being that guy with on stage or working with an artist versus, so from that standpoint, mine can speak to it can be on the wall and I just say I shot it. I don't have to be in it.
yeah,
If you just took a picture of me, you like, yeah, you were just in the room, but you can say, no, I met them, we had a conversation and we got this picture done, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that it's a little different.
Absolutely, for
It's a little
sure.
different. Yep.
Now, so when you walk into a situation, you got a photo shoot coming up. Do you use a certain strategy like that can apply to every scenario? Like, is there a strategy that you use? You go in, do you look for lighting first? Do you look for location, or do you go ahead of time? Kind of, what's your method or
So when I
strategy?
first started, I used to go like, even if it was just for a location shoot, I would drive no matter where it was just to know where the shoot was so I wouldn't get lost or anything like that. But the busier we get, it doesn't allow you to do those things. So what you just do is just pack everything that you think you might need for the
Yeah.
situation. And when you get there, you just go with it. It's like, again, taking it with the music. If the room echoes, you know you got to listen for the echo. You just have to change it up from the way you're doing it. So no, from that standpoint, and some of the clients are really the set that you're working from. So it all depends on what you're doing, and you just go there and then figure it out when you're there. Find a way. Remember?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And you just be over prepared.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, I've been in situations where the people I was working with, their batteries have died, and now I'm having to wait, you know, for it to be charged, and I'm sitting there just kind of losing momentum, and like, wow, really?
Rookie mistakes. Rookie mistakes. I shot my first season doing weddings with one camera until somebody walked up to me and said, I was like, well, hey, it's a great camera, man. What do you mean? He says, well, what if someone knocks it out of your hand? And so I never even thought about that. He was like, if you drop that camera, can you now tell your client at their wedding or at their special event that you won't finish it and you call yourself a professional? So over time, you go like, hey, you got to have, you know, more than one piece of gear, you know, and you have to have all that stuff in that bag and be ready whether you use it or not. So that's where it gets really kind of pricey, because if you're sitting on a really expensive camera, you need a duplicate of that one in your bag so you can still get the shot done. So
and to that point, the flip side of that is, what if you accidentally are you insured? Because I've heard of photographers being insured, so that may be the purpose. You know, what if you actually hit somebody while they're, you know, turning around, you didn't see them, and so photographers should be insured as well, right?
Yeah, and you right. So I have yet to hurt anyone or anybody get hurt on the set that I've worked on. But I have dropped, a camera with the lens attached to it and the flash attached to it because it was tethered to my body. And I forgot I had set it on the chair next to me, and I'm at a week-long event in another city. And I walk away and the camera gets destroyed. I have one other camera to get it done, but I'm still there a week. So having insurance, I was able to call my insurance company, rent a camera, get it shipped down to me, and be ready the next day. So you have to take those precautions. It costs a lot to have those things in place, but if you're going to call yourself a professional, it comes with that, because you can't make excuses.
Yeah.
There are no, and I also recognize like this. So let's say they pay you $100 to do something, right? But it's $100,000 event that's going on. And your $100, your $100 payment can get everybody else jacked up and mad, right? So, but when they come to you, it's $100,000 butt kicking, right? You're just making 100, but you're the guy that's holding up the whole thing, right? So you don't want to be that guy.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So I'm always early for the event. When they start looking around, I just wave my hand. I'm over in the corner and keep it moving.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Real quick, I want to shout out Vicky Greerdon, Jerry Causey, Tony Cole, Daniel Harris, Brandon Washington, Wavy Boy, Troy Harris. We got a comment here that says, from Yvette Knox, that's family. She says, he got tackled once. Oh.
No, she did. She so
before you speak to that, but I believe it's Blondella Brown. She says, hey, as well. But yeah, so tell us about that story. You got tackled?
Okay, so I believe it was a high school game. I'm shooting the sports because I do school photography, right? So I got my long lens on, it's raining outside, and I'm looking through the lens, and this kid is like flat out running right at me, and I'm all in the moment. And it dawned on me, I'm like, he is right, he is right here, and I'm still just clicking away. And so I sort of turn around, and he catches me underneath my knees, flips me totally over. I missed the concrete by like 6 inches or so. And when I come up and I come to my senses, the guy from the news is handing me his camera, his card, saying, "Hey, watch the news tonight. You're gonna be on." Right?
Just
So,
expose.
yeah, it was cold. It was cold. So they got a kick out of watching me. I'm glad. I don't think that's it. I had it on a TiVo, and it got destroyed some kind of way. Right?
Okay.
We weren't gonna keep that one going. But one of the vendors that I had the flash that got broken, I was at Helix, which is a Chicago store. He saw me there and I was trying to get the lens fixed. And he said, "Oh, that was you?" He says, "We'll fix your lens for free because you had our lens on the thing." So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
He
yeah.
fixed the flash. He fixed the flash.
Wow.
I'm going to
That
get you, Pat.
Janet Griffin says, hey, as well. Janet Griffin Reed.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Jan.
All right. And so I got another question for you. Let's talk money. So for those that are thinking about getting into the industry, becoming a photographer, would you say it's lucrative? How do you get paid, and how do you charge, depending on the circumstance?
Well, it's what the market will bear. It's what you're able to. There's a whole bunch of things that sort of go into that, like skill level, how long you've been doing it. Like, so sometimes you have to justify yourself. It's like, some people now do weddings for $250, $400, and I'll just say, you know what? I'm okay with you choosing that person. I'm just not the one to do it, because over time, you know what it's worth. You know what you're worth to do something. And so what I've tried to do is just do good work and not worry about the money. The money will come if you do the good work, right? So you
can say that again. I think somebody might have missed that.
Yeah, that's it. You'll find yourself in situations where the money is, because again, I'll keep plugging my mentor at this point, where we started off in one thing where it was really just a simple situation. Like AKA is one of the clients that we work for. I work for AKA through him, and I'm in rooms with 20,000 people in them, and we're doing all these events, and it's kind of crazy, and it's all that. And then somebody will say, "Hey man, you charge too much," and they're trying to get you to do their CD cover or something like that. And I'll just share with them, they're gonna, at some point in your career, you're gonna want to get what you're worth. And so I suggest you pay me what I'm worth, so you'll get what you're worth, because you'll have this conversation again. Mm-hmm. And I try to prepare them for what's coming up for them, because at the end of the day, everybody wants a deal, but they don't put red bottom shoes on sale for you to wear with your $10 jeans. They just don't. So it's economics, man. So and Magic Johnson even put it this way. He was talking about how when he was younger, any deal, he would do any deal, but as he made bigger and bigger deals, how am I going to excite him with my $200? It's like, it's not a stab at who you are, but you've got to find those people in that market for you as you build. You got to build something. You just don't start at the top of the mountain. We all got to climb. And in our industry, we're always climbing, because there are things that change. If you look at like when all the photographers lost their gigs that were working for newspapers, because now they'll take anybody's cell phone shot of an event. So if you look at it from that standpoint, we had to change what we were doing or how we were doing it, because now they'll just let anybody, people got skills, but they'll just take a picture from anyone, where that used to be a whole industry.
Yeah. So, wow.
Yeah. Wow. So you got to keep finding clients that appreciate what you do, because we are, and again, to quote a phrase, we're visual historians. If you look at it from that standpoint. Yeah. If I take a picture of someone, it would just be a simple picture that day. But if they got killed tomorrow, that picture becomes the most important picture that they've ever taken. So we don't, I'll try to scare anybody to doing work and things like that. We do obituaries as well. We have a print business as well, right? I've done obituaries of people that have never been taken a professional picture ever. So I'm working with cell phone pictures, with pixelated pictures and all those kind of things. So I just encourage people at least go to the mall once, and go sit in front of somebody, or you'll see somebody, they're 80 years old and they're using their picture, when they were 35.
30, yeah, right.
And I'm not taking a stab. That's just one of those things that I think we don't think about those things as we move through life. And we end up in those kind of situations. Again, that headshot, I just happened to just play around and got that headshot when you asked me to send you something. So I am guilty of the same thing.
Oh, wow.
We've been trying to do a family portrait for, I think the last time we were going to do it right before COVID. So it's like, here we are again, not getting this family portrait done. So I get it, but if I got to say it to other people, so I'm talking to myself as well.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Now, has there ever been a time where a client will come to you and ask you can you duplicate a look? And is that something that you're able to do?
It's always challenging to do that. Because first I'll say to them, are you going to be able to can you duplicate the look?
Exactly.
Whatever you do, I'll capture. So now if you can get there, I'll capture it, right? So I try to spin it back to them, because if you don't have that skill level, there are people that, when I was first taking pictures, when I was first starting off as a photographer, I did a young lady who was a professional model or a professional actor. And I could have swore she wanted to date me, as I'm shooting the pictures and the way she's looking into the cameras. And, so she had that,
Yeah.
And after it was over, she gave me my pay and walked out. And I was like,
wait.
Feeling some type of way, right? It's
Right.
like, no, this was really about the pictures, dude. What was wrong with you, right? But so there are people that are able to get behind the camera and just like knock it out the park, man. And I, again, back to that, if you can bring that, I can capture that,
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, that's good
is
stuff.
it in you?
That's important.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Well, aside from what you do for a living, your photography and all of the gifts that you have, even with playing instruments and just being a great guy, like, what do you want to be remembered for? What's something that you believe will be said about you, when you're no longer here?
Trying to give somebody else the same opportunities that I had. Leaving a legacy of helping others. Giving advice to people when you can pull somebody to the side and you see that they're doing something that you feel may not be an advantage for them, just being able to have their ear and be able to talk to them. And I know that, in this culture, sometimes it can be very difficult, but I always preface it this way. I'll say, hey, I'm going to give you some advice. If you don't want it, just tell me to shut up and I'll stop. So I try to put somebody at ease before I give them some advice, because it's really just advice. It doesn't mean that what I've done will just work for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So I just tell people the things, how I approach things, and maybe that'll work for you, but that doesn't make me the, orator of what they're trying to do. I'll just share a personal thing. I was telling my granddaughter, she's doing homework in the dark. And I'm old school. My mother would make me sit at the desk and do my homework. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, Mara, you need to turn the lights on, blah, 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 and do your homework at the desk, right? Well, then she brought home all A's. So I told her, turn the lights out and do your homework. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're getting the result, well, who am I to say what's right, right? So I try to learn this whole generation as I get older and older. They just do things differently. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just different.
Yeah.
I posted on Facebook one time, Psycho Alpha Disco Bayo Bio Apadulu. And I'm like, what are those kids listening to? And I was like, oh, that was our music, So we always think they so terrible and they listen to this is going to affect them. Man, we did the same thing. So I try to stay in that vein of not judging them I tell them, just don't get stuck in a phase in your life. So you may make a bad decision, but you can always, as long as you keep getting up, you can overcome it. So
Wow.
for me, I just want to be somebody that gave somebody some solid advice,
Yeah.
and whatever works for them, find that. But I'll put it in their head to at least think. Just whenever you're doing something, just think first, because we post stuff all the time. I have the same emotions that a lot of people have that they post on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll never see me post them because you
Right.
won't be able to go back and say, look at this. Look at this. It's like, no, when you see me, I'm trying to go just like this all the time. There's
Yeah.
a song I use. I use songs and movies. It says, if you can keep your head while all else around you are losing theirs, then you can inherit the wind, right? So those are
Mm.
like things I try to keep in my head. I use them and practice them, and how I stay calm before I make a rational decision. So
Oh
just trying to
man.
give some people some skills that I use, not that they're the right tool, but just the skills that I use to help me.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very, very valuable, and just speaks to a lot about your character. The fact that you're willing to give, and you want to see other people grow, and you're not selfish with what you have. And it's just awesome, man, that you were able to have somebody before you that poured into you. So now
Yes.
you're keeping that legacy going by being a mentor to someone else. So man, that's amazing. That's awesome.
If I
You
could
would,
give one more shout out to John Moore. John Moore helped me do school photography. And like I was gonna shoot a school before I even really knew how to do a school. I had the gig and I met John like a week before that. And I was like, hey man, I need your help. And he and I eventually became partners and he helped me do my first school. And I still use some of the things that he taught me now for how I shoot public schools today. So want to give
yeah.
a shout out to him as well, man.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. Now, last question. So I want you to give some advice. So you're blessed to be able to do what you love. So I'm sure work doesn't feel like work to you
No.
when you're doing it. So what advice do you give somebody that they want to be in that same position, but they're maybe afraid to step out due to maybe it's income, they got a steady income, and just afraid to step out on faith. So what advice would you give somebody that's maybe being held back because of fear?
Well, so again, in my situation, I was afforded the luxury of having a wife that had a great job when I lost my job. So I tell people you have to work within your own faith, right? Faith is something that you have to act on, right? So I had 10 years, so I wouldn't have to struggle like I would say to someone else is like, but if anything you put the effort into that you say you want to do, then you'll live and breathe that, and then it'll become what you do. But if you're not living and breathing it, if you're not getting ready, if you're not prepared for your opportunity, then it's all about getting prepared for your opportunity. So if you say my advice is if you really, really want to do something, you need to live and breathe it. I saw an article somewhere where a kid was sitting down with his basketball, but underneath the caption, it was saying somebody's practicing somewhere. So he was taking a rest,
Hmm.
but someone else is practicing. Like if you look at the NBA, why are some guys so much better than others? It's not just some of it's just ability, but then some of it's a gift. But some people put the work in.
Yeah.
So it's you put the work in. If it's meant for you and you put the work in, you'll be there. It's very humbling to achieve some things that when you see it coming, but as you get older, I tell people I may sound like a psychic now because I'm more in tune with what's going on around me. So it's like when you see God blessing you in one area, you'll see a door close, and don't panic when that door closes, because as I've never been one to have a child, but in sometimes when you birth out something, it's painful first.
Mm.
So I remember posting, I never lose. I either learn, I forget the other, I learn from the experience, or I win, right?
Yeah.
So it's not losing. You learn from every time you do something wrong, make a bad mistake, find out what the lesson was in that, because a lot of people have lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been at this, I've watched you, and I'm sure there's some things that no one would know about all the struggles that put you in front of this microphone today, but they just think, oh, you the man, you're doing this. No,
Yeah.
it's
No
not that
idea.
simple. It's not, we, at some point, we always we have to look like we've already arrived.
Yeah.
And so, or I call it a never let them in you, see you sweat moment. But that would be my advice is like, whatever you're passionate about, live it and breathe it, and you have to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, I would burn every chair in here to keep my business going. Before I have to ask somebody else for help, you first have to do your own part.
Yeah.
So that's just it in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Wow, this has been great, man. I really enjoyed speaking to you. It's been a little while since we've spoken, and
Yeah.
just being able to just catch up and even dig a little deeper. Our encounters a lot of times has been,
Brief.
around
Yep.
other people and been brief, and it's been fun. But this is, man, I feel like I got to know you a little bit better tonight.
And we didn't even bring up the cheese heads. I'm just
Come on,
saying.
man. You don't want to go there because my tech guy might start turning off mics. But
Well,
yeah.
we know how to turn them off because we never call. We turn our phones off after the game. So
Right. Well, we'll see. Y'all look like football is gonna be coming again. So yeah, for those of you that may have missed it, he's a Chicago
Yes.
native, still there.
Yes.
So he's a diehard Bears fan, and we,
Yes.
if he wasn't family, we wouldn't fool with him. But
Nice.
we
We
love
gotta
our Chicago family.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you, man. Thank you for taking this time. I know this was a later podcast. Thank you for just being on the show and sharing your expertise and giving wisdom and advice. I'm sure in the future sometime we would love to have you back on. And for those of you that are listening, we just appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. And I hope that you got something. I know I did. I'll go back and kind of take some notes because there are some things that I learned tonight, and so I appreciate that. So yeah, that's what this show is all about. We apologize for the delay in our start time. We had some challenges tonight. However, the audio from this will be uploaded to our Apple Music podcast, so you'll be able to see that. So the video is just something that we've tried to bring you guys so you can see our guests and live and in action. So although the audio may not may have some glitches, that's okay. As long as our audio is clear, that's what we're really going after.
Nice.
So again, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you tune in. I believe there was a ticker at the bottom of the screen that will tell you to subscribe, share, join us, like us. You can find Mario J. Brown Music with a K, and you won't miss an episode. Tomorrow we have a really, really special guest. Man, she's beautiful. She's fine. She's amazing. She's my wife.
I was getting ready to say you way out there, bro.
And our topic tomorrow is the musician's wife. So
Nice.
I'm gonna take a back seat, and you're gonna get some perspective from what it is, how it is to live in her shoes, just being connected to me. So that should be interesting. I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but I'm looking forward to it. And so you guys tune in tomorrow night, and that will conclude our first season. We did this in 15 shows. Today is episode 14. We do have one more show tomorrow, and then we're going to take a 2-week break, and then we'll be back with some more amazing industry guests. We got entertainment lawyers lined up, graphic designers. We have fashion designers, makeup. More makeup. It's just a lot. So we're going to bring you everything that we can, so you guys can be prepared, and you can win. All right. So yeah, JB, it was good seeing you, man. Even though we couldn't hear you tonight, man, we appreciate your hard work and dedication to make this happen, man, and at least allowing us to be on these airways tonight. So thank you again. Again, thank you to our guests, Mr. Greg Davis. We appreciate you, and till next time, we'll holler.
Peace.